If you watch this channel, you probably noticed I talk about a lot of the same JRPGs, and there's a reason why. Some of these games just stick, honestly, and they keep coming up because they represent something specific to me that really just defines JRPGs as a genre. So this video today isn't really about ranking the best of the best or calling anything 100% definitive. It's a list of some JRPGs that are genuinely hard to skip, and with one strong reason why per game, because each game highlights a different strength of the genre and shows why JRPGs continue to work across different eras. So yes, today we're talking about some JRPGs that you shouldn't skip, some games that you should experience at least once. And yes, there's some games that I'm talking about again and again and again here, but I'm reframing them with one definitive reason why you should play them rather than this is good, music is great, characters are cool, blah, blah, blah. So before we get to that, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not already. Leave your thoughts down below in the comments. What games do you think that are unskippable? And I would love to know your reason why as well. So let's get to the first one. A timeless JRPG classic. So let's kick off this list with Chrono Trigger, and the reason why it's honestly the gold standard for pacing. I really think that Chrono Trigger earns a place on this list. Obviously, it's a great game, but let's just focus on how effortlessly this game moves. From the opening moments, the game pulls you forward with this sense of momentum that doesn't really stop. It also never feels rushed at all. I feel like there's this real sense of confidence with how tightly this game is constructed. Locations are introduced, they're explored and resolved without dragging on at all, and the story beats land pretty quickly, I would say, but also meaningfully as well. So it's a game that seems to instinctively know when it's made a point and it's ready to move on. It doesn't overstay. It just doesn't linger when it doesn't need to. But what's remarkable is how that tight pacing doesn't come at the expense of character or atmosphere or even vibes, really. You still can kind of have your cake and eat it all. You get memorable party members, distinct eras, and some really great and unique emotional moments that stick, but none of it feels padded or indulgent. Really, this is probably the JRPG on this list that has the least padding throughout the entire game. And optional content enhances the experience rather than bloating it. And of course, your player choice is respected without overwhelming the structure. So do you want to get some of the best items to help defeat the final boss? Sure, you can do that. Do you not want to do that? No, you don't have to. Everything that's there that's optional, honestly, I would still say is recommended, but you know what? It's your choice. So in my opinion, that's why Chrono Trigger still gets referenced so often. Not just that it's an amazing game, that it's loved, but it represents this design philosophy that values clarity and momentum and respect for your time, because obviously it's a game about time and whatever. That's a bit of a reach there with that one, but it's still something that I would say that JRPGs as a genre still struggle to consistently achieve. Momentum and great pacing, but Chrono Trigger has all of that. Finally, I get to talk about some Fire Emblem with Fire Emblem Three Houses, and because it has some really strong perspective-driven storytelling. Now, this game stands out really because it asks you to live with your choices, not just make them. When you pick your house early on, it feels like maybe a straightforward decision. You're choosing characters you like, a leader that you believe in, and a cause that seems reasonable, I guess, but you really don't have an idea of how deeply that commitment will shape everything that follows, or how much of the story you won't see because of it, and that's the real key here. What gives Fire Emblem Three Houses its weight is the slow realization that no route tells the full story. After finishing one path, it's hard not to feel confident in the choices you supported until another route quietly reframes those same events, so characters you trusted may come across as rigid or reckless from a different perspective, and motivations that once felt justified begin to look maybe incomplete. So the game never really flips heroes into villains outright, but it does consistently make you question how much you truly understood the conflict through the first time you played it on whatever path you chose. So I love this game for this perspective-driven storytelling. Like I said, it really just turns replaying the game into an active reevaluation rather than completion. And every route adds context instead of answers, and the emotional impact comes from recognizing how things like belief and loyalty, and sometimes your limited information and understanding can shape outcomes just as much as one's intention. So it's definitely not subtle for the sake of complexity. It's effective because it mirrors how real-world conflicts are lived, maybe sometimes not as neatly explained. It's really great food for thought. I love this game so much. Hey, we all love Studio Ghibli, right? We love that beautiful kind of coat of paint that's on those movies. And when I heard about Ni no Kuni for the first time, I was so excited. And for me, it just created a real sense of, I would call it like whimsical world building. It builds a world throughout the game that feels genuinely warm and inviting. I mean, obviously not just visually, but emotionally as well. From the art direction to the music, everything works together to create a sense of wonder that feels kind of genuine rather than just forced. And it's the kind of world that encourages comfort, which is really surprisingly rare in JRPGs. And I just love how cozy this game feels. And what makes this approach more effective is, once you get into the game, you realize what sits beneath that whole, aesthetic. Despite the soft presentation, Ni no Kuni is quietly about loss and grief and learning how to move forward after something has affected you or broken you. And the game doesn't dwell on those themes or push them aggressively to the foreground, and instead it allows them to naturally exist within the story, trusting that you'll feel them throughout the experience rather than being told how to feel, which is really great. And this game is really effective at that. And I think, honestly, over anything, it shows that sincerity can be pretty powerful. It shows that a JRPG doesn't need constant darkness and light or high stakes tragedy to say something really meaningful. Sometimes I think creating this space that feels safe and hopeful is what allows these heavier emotions to land more honestly. And that's why this game has always lingered with me in a way that maybe some others haven't over the years. Another one of my favorite series is Golden Sun. Now, rather than talking about everything about this game, I think it's really important to highlight that this is a great example of world continuity done right. The original Golden Sun duology for Game Boy Advance earns the place here by treating its two entries really as part of a single unified journey. Obviously, it's two different games. Rather than resetting the world or players' progress, the story expands outward, allowing locations and conflicts and relationships to evolve naturally across both games. And that sense of continuity really gives this adventure some real weight, and it makes it special overall. I mean, imagine being back in the early 2000s and playing this game, transferring your save data across, and just continuing the adventure. It's awesome. Now, what makes this really memorable is how the world itself really enforces that feeling. Environmental puzzles, recurring characters, and kind of a shared mythology. They all contribute to the idea that this is a place with history and consequence, not just like a series of disconnected dungeons. That continuity is the real thread that ties everything together between Golden Sun 1 and 2. And by the time the story concludes, it feels like you've completed one long voyage rather than two separate handheld JRPGs. Now, that commitment to cohesion is really what sets Golden Sun apart, and particularly within the handheld space that it comes from. Incredibly memorable games, a series that I will always highly recommend, and one that I would love to see come back one day. Now, hey, before we get any further, I want to let you guys know that I've got a Patreon account, and I have some input from some of the supporters as well for JRPGs you shouldn't skip and why. So the first one here is from G-Man with Lufia 2. The reason why? Amazing puzzles, no random battles and dungeons, good story, battle system is straightforward but still has depth. I like that. Let's hear from DJ Bob, who talks about Super Mario RPG. It's a good gateway into JRPGs because it's simple yet engaging with the timed hit feature. The characters are familiar and charming, and the humor is off the charts funny, and the English localization knocked it out of the park. Couldn't agree more. I love Mario RPG, but Lufia I haven't played yet, so I'm looking forward to hopefully getting to that this year. So if you want to support the channel, I would love to have you over on Patreon, where you get access to the videos early, some behind the scenes things, and sometimes you can even submit your ideas to be featured in the videos as well. So more JRPG stuff right now. Triangle Strategy. This is a game I love so much, and I think it does a really great job at modern tactical storytelling. This represents a more measured approach to some more modern JRPG stuff. I mean, instead of framing choices around simple morality, it asks you to weigh competing values, forcing decisions that feel grounded in leadership rather than heroism. And there are multiple endings, and it might take you a couple playthroughs to get the golden path as well if you're not trying to. And the choices in this game have tangible consequences, affecting story paths, alliances, and even the battles that you fight too. I mean, the game consistently reinforces the idea that every decision carries a cost, and it's something that's really just interesting to live in with a political warring faction story that is Triangle Strategy. So what makes this game super compelling is just the idea that it finds impact through structure and consequence and not necessarily spectacle, and that gives it a distinct voice among modern releases. There's a lot of talking. It might take you a little while to get into this game fully, but once I was in, I was 100% hooked, and it's a game that I will always love and talk about positively. Suikoden II, this was one that I played for the first time last year, and it really showed me that you can have a game with a grand scale without a lot of bloat. Suikoden II succeeds by delivering a story about war and politics and loyalty without really truly overwhelming you, and with its large cast of 108 stars of destiny and shifting power dynamics, I think it really effectively conveys the scope of continental conflict while keeping the emotional focus firmly planted in personal relationships, something that starts right at the beginning of the game. This game is remarkably efficient in how it handles that scale. Characters, yes, they can come and go naturally, and as you add them to your castle, not everybody joins your party. Some people can help around the castle and just build up your home base as you progress the story, and really just all that stuff reinforces that central conflict, and nothing feels like it exists purely to inflate the runtime either. And all the recruiting of allies feels, again, purposeful rather than obligatory. So Suikoden II stands as a reminder that a JRPG can feel expansive without becoming exhausting. Its restraint, in my opinion, is exactly what allows its larger ideas to land, and land really, really well in a super memorable way. Now, this is one that I've played for the first time, and I'm so excited to be able to add this to my knowledge repertoire, and that is Dragon Quest V. And the reason why I want to highlight this today is because it has generational storytelling. Dragon Quest V is really special because I think it just allows itself to be shaped by the narrative with the use of time. So by following the hero from childhood into adulthood and then beyond into fatherhood, the game turns growth and legacy into lived experiences rather than abstract or assumed themes. And what makes this so effective, in my opinion, is how naturally it unfolds. Life events aren't rushed, relationships kind of evolve quietly over time, and the passage of time is reflected through gameplay changes as much as it is with story beats. And the emotional payoff works because the game trusts you to have patience. Dragon Quest V does not chase constant highs. It lets meaning build gradually, and that's why the story continues to resonate so strongly. And now, having played it, I understand what makes this game so special is you follow the life of one person and then the found family that you have throughout the way. It's a really reflective and unique game, and something that I think you would really resonate with if you haven't played it yet. Next up is Final Fantasy VI for the ensemble cast. Now, this one stands out because it tells a story without truly anchoring everything to a single chosen hero. If you've played Final Fantasy up until this point in the series when it was released, obviously there was one main pillar character and then everybody supported around there, but instead the idea here is that it spreads the emotional weight across a cast, allowing different characters to take center stage at different moments. This really gives a sense of authenticity, I would say, as if the events are unfolding regardless of whether one person is there to witness. I think what makes this work overall is the amount of trust that this game places in you as a player. It doesn't over-explain any motivations or force like constant dramatic payoffs. Some special character moments and scenes and subtle shifts in perspective all really just kind of gradually add up to help build a cast that feels cohesive and lived in rather than like a, obvious game kind of thing. So I really love how all these characters work together to save the world rather than just one person leading the pack. And honestly, one of the most important things that comes from the lasting impact of this game is the restraint that it shows. It shows that JRPG stories can be emotionally rich without being singularly focused. And in an ensemble cast, when handled carefully, it can be just as powerful as a traditional one-hero journey. So Final Fantasy VI, I love all the characters dearly, and I really love the journey they went on together. Now, here's one I talk about a lot, and rather than focusing on the what-ifs or, just the game overall, I want to talk about the ambition of Xenogears, choosing ambition over polish. It's a testament to how far you can reach, even if something isn't fully held together. This is a game driven by ideas, first and foremost, questions about identity, belief, trauma, where we are in the universe, why we are in the universe, and really it's just a culmination of things that few JRPGs at the time were willing to confront so directly, and maybe even now as well. So it often feels like the developers were less concerned about whether every piece fit neatly together and maybe more concerned with saying something meaningful, and that's really made a huge impact on me. And unfortunately, that ambition is also where the cracks show. Some pacing issues, some uneven presentation issues, and famously rough sections make it clear that the game struggled to fully realize its vision. But those flaws don't fully erase what Xenogears was attempting to do. If anything, maybe they make the aspirations more visible to the player. I think it certainly is the case for me. So Xenogears matters because it represents a moment where JRPG storytelling tried to push past its own comfort zone. I think it's remembered not for being polished, because it's certainly not. I mean, look at the second disc, but I think it really just has a special place because it was bold enough to aim higher than almost anything around it. It's one of the most famous unfinished masterpieces. Just imagine what would happen if this game was 100% complete. Here's one of my favorite games of the last few years, and that is Star Ocean: The Second Story R. The reason why I'm picking it today is because it has so much replayability built into this game. Right from the start, the game asks you to make meaningful decisions. Choose your protagonist, deciding who you'll recruit within your party, how much time you'll spend engaging with some of the quieter moments that shapes relationships with your characters and your team. And it doesn't push you toward like a single intended experience. Instead, it invites you to see what happens when you make different choices and live with them. I mean, that freedom is enforced by, I guess, just how reactive this game can be, with nearly like 100 endings depending on party composition and character bonds and other different variables. Star Ocean: The Second Story R isn't just like replayable in theory, it rewards curiosity. Small decisions stack over time, and the game trusts you to discover things organically rather than like spelling everything out. Yes, you can play it with a guide, but it would be fun to just play and just see what kind of things are different with just one single choice. So it's the kind of design that makes finishing the game feel less like closure and more like an invitation to start again, which is something that I just don't generally do. But this game really piqued my curiosity when I finished it for the first time. So Star Ocean: The Second Story R stands out as a reminder that strong mechanics and meaningful choice can carry a game just as powerfully as a tightly scripted narrative. And when it's done right like this game, you're going to keep coming back decades later. Now, this is a game I've loved since it came out, and it really has had a lasting emotional impact on me, and I think it earns its place here by committing fully to a clear emotional through line. I mean, from the outset, the game establishes, there's sacrifice, faith, inevitability, and it never loses sight of those specific points as the story unfolds. And what makes that emotional weight land, in my opinion, is how deeply it's embedded in the world of Spira. I mean, religion is a huge talking point in this game. Tradition and belief, all those things actively shape the characters' lives, turning some abstract ideas into a lived-in reality. And when those characters start to question those motives and realize the truths of the world, that's a really, really interesting thing. And Final Fantasy X resonates because it doesn't dilute its message at all. The focus and sincerity are exactly why the story still hits as hard for me now, the same as it did 25 years ago. Crazy, 25 years. Wow, that's a long time ago. And last on the list is Lost Odyssey, and it does a really great job by centering its emotional core around memory and memory loss. It's a really wonderful experience. One of my favorite things about this game is the 1,000 Years of Dreams segments. They explore love and loss and regret through these short, focused stories that linger long after they're finished. I still remember the first time that I played this game. I'd never experienced these stories. I really didn't know much about it. And the first few stories actually drove me to tears, and I think the lasting impact from this game might not really be the story of the game itself, but it's actually these smaller segments with the 1,000 Years of Dreams, and using that emotional storytelling and having it resonate more than the actual game itself tells you a lot about the writing that went into this. I mean, these moments give depth to the immortal protagonist by grounding him in fleeting human experiences, and it does all this without even showing you any cutscenes at all. It allows your brain to just kind of live in those moments. And the restraint shown in those vignettes allows the emotion to build naturally rather than being forced into like watching a cutscene. So you can just imagine it for yourself. And that's what makes these experiences all the more personal. So in a genre that's often driven now by scale and spectacle, Lost Odyssey really stands out by trusting quiet reflection to carry its emotional weight. And it does it so wonderfully. So that's it for my list today. I hope you guys enjoyed these games. I know it's crazy that I left off Final Fantasy VII, but really I just wanted to try and do a video without between that, but I guess I still mentioned it anyway. So thank you so much for watching. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. I would love to hear from you guys as well. Leave your comments down below, and otherwise we'll see you on another video very soon. Bye-bye.